everyone, this is Alpha Eagle, and in this video we will be looking at a Now This video. And Now This is a very biased, heavily left-leaning media outlet. They are quote-unquote reporters who report quote-unquote news and entertainment, and in this video they will be talking about Captain America and his politics. So let's watch the video and see what they get right and what they get wrong. Let's begin.
Look, I didn't expect to be standing in front of you in 2018 saying a 98-year-old white guy represents my politics.
Okay, first of all, they say 98-year-old white guy as if that's some kind of negative for some reason. See, Now This is a very racist media outlet, and they're now letting their racism show. As you can see here, that they see white as something negative, and one's age also is irrelevant when talking about their political views. It doesn't matter how old you are. If your political views align, that's all that matters.
Two things that are constantly evident from the very beginning with Cap: his willingness to stick up for the little guy and his willingness to flout authority when he thinks they're making the wrong moral decisions. He is incredibly distrustful of government and authoritative agencies.
They don't realize that they're showing Captain America here, and the values that they show, standing up for the little guy and sticking up against authority, those are conservative Republican views. Conservative Republicans stand up for people's rights. They always have. Conservative Republicans also are against big government, the authority that they're talking about. And they don't seem to realize that Democrats are for big government. They are for authoritarian governments.
The character of Captain America was created back in 1940, when in the real world, World War II was raging. Writer and co-creator Joe Simon said Cap was actually a conscious political creation from the beginning. He was designed to fight the Nazis and stand as moral opposition to their crimes against humanity. Simon and the other writers were Jewish, and Steve Rogers was their outlet as a response to the Nazis.
Captain America's creators were Jewish, and they were standing up against the Nazis at the time. And again, now this left-leaning news organization doesn't realize that the Nazis were left-leaning. They were liberals. They were socialists. They'll try to lie to you and make you think that the Republicans are the Nazis. You know, the Democrats, and especially in the media, have basically called Trump a Nazi, which he is not even close to being a Nazi. As I was saying, Trump is not a socialist, not even close. And Trump is nowhere near being anti-Semitic. That was the biggest thing about the Nazis. Okay, Trump's son-in-law is Jewish. He has also moved the American embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. And this proves that he is not anti-Semitic, that he is actually pro-Israel, pro-Jewish, just as these creators of Captain America were Jewish. So this idea that Trump is a Nazi is absurd.
And the writers of the comic books would keep up with those overtly political themes over the years. Whatever the real world was facing, Cap was facing it too. The movies really crystallized Steve Rogers' politics for today's generation, but these ideals were cemented in the comics a long time ago. And what's really remarkable is that whether they were written in the 1940s, 70s, or 2000s, they're all super relevant today. Though the Winter Soldier movie is set in 2014, the inspiration for the storyline comes from a Captain America comic from 1974.
Okay, I don't know where she's getting this from. This seems like pure speculation on her part.
It's about a high-level government conspiracy, surprise, that Rogers discovers, where someone very high up the political totem pole turns out to be the leader of a terrorist group known as the Secret Empire. This was Marvel's response to the Watergate scandal that was happening at the time in America. Rogers becomes so disillusioned with the US government during this time that he sheds the Captain America status and becomes Nomad.
Captain America did become Nomad in the comics, and guess what? That's dumb. It completely goes against his character. Now, just because it happened in the comics doesn't doesn't mean that that's the way the character should be portrayed, okay? Comics, like any other medium, have bad writers. You know, there are tons of writers who don't get the characters and they do dumb things with the characters. For example, Superman renounced his citizenship. This is something that Superman would never do, but he did in the comics because of bad writers that don't know what they're doing. Another example is Spider-Man sold his soul to the devil. This is also something that Spider-Man would never do, but it happened in the comics because of bad writers who don't know what they're doing. Another example with Captain America recently is that he became a Nazi. Okay, that's not something that Captain America would do, but it happened in the comics. Going back to becoming Nomad, the reason why Captain America would not do this is because he is patriotic. Sometimes I don't think that Democrats or liberals understand what it means to be patriotic. Patriotic means you love your country no matter what. Now, there's a big difference between one's country and one's government, okay? So Captain America loves the idea of America. That doesn't mean he has to love the government. That doesn't mean that he has to love the president. And for example, I consider myself as being patriotic, and I did not approve of Obama. Just because I didn't like Obama and what he was doing doesn't mean I didn't love my country and I didn't love America at that time.
This is how they updated the government conspiracy storyline for the Winter Soldier movie. We see this idealistic guy from the 1940s who slept through the Cold War really grapple with, one, that government officials are straight up lying and colluding.
I love that she used the word colluding to try to tie it in with Trump. Again, this is a more of a conservative Republican view. Conservatives and Republicans don't trust the government. Republicans think that the government has too much control over our lives. They have too much power. So distrusting the government, like I said before, is a Republican view, okay? And I'd like to say it's not really distrusting the government as more as distrusting the powers that be, the deep state, whatever you want to call it. This includes factions of the government, such as the FBI and such. In this Trump era, he distrusts the FBI, as we all should. There's no reason why we should place our faith in any form of government. So that is the same ideal as Captain America.
And two, the idea that more guns means we'll be more safe. Does that sound familiar even today, 4 years after the movie came out?
Again, did we watch a different movie? Because, no, Winter Soldier had nothing to do with guns making us more or less safe. It was more, it dealt with, like she was saying before, with the government having too much control and distrusting their citizens. That's more what Winter Soldier was about, okay? Now, this idea that Captain America hates guns is absurd. She showed a clip earlier of Captain America using a gun. What she's referring to is that S.H.I.E.L.D. was creating more helicarriers. Now, one of the things about these helicarriers is that they had automated systems. That they would just target individuals without people in control. And in my opinion, this was a comment on Obama's drone program, which attacked innocent people with these unmanned drones that would kill people. Now, they're trying to pivot that to guns and gun regulation and blah, 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 where that had nothing to do with guns.
Political players may change, but political ideals don't.
Greatest generation? You guys did some nasty stuff.
Yeah. We compromised, sometimes in ways that made us not sleep so well. But we did it so that people could be free. This isn't freedom. This is fear.
Now, that's one of the greatest lines in the movie, in my opinion. And again, I'm saying that is a conservative Republican viewpoint, okay? Now, his line about this isn't freedom, this is fear, he's talking about the surveillance and how the government was spying on Americans. And during the time this movie was made, guess who was president? The Democrat president, Mr. Barack Hussein Obama. Now, people like to blame Republicans for the Patriot Act, which spies on American citizens, but many people don't know that it was Obama who expanded the Patriot Act so he could spy on even more Americans with less regulation. That's what Captain America is saying, is that spying on American citizens the way Obama did is taking away our freedom to privacy. This is what he's talking about.
That's one of my favorite scenes in any Marvel movie because it's such a good illustration of what Cap believes. That we shouldn't be punishing people before they've committed a crime, that we uphold innocent until proven guilty, that government surveillance of innocent civilians is wrong.
Exactly. Government surveillance of innocent civilians is wrong. And she doesn't realize that it's the Democrats at this time, when the movie was made, that are doing this. And as we know, Trump has been spied on by the Obama administration. Now, but say you don't believe that the Obama administration spied on Trump. We know that the government spies on people. So whether you love or hate Trump, it doesn't matter. You should be against spying on people, which is what Obama did. Remember, we're talking about the guy who put body cameras on policemen to spy on people.
In a nod to Nomad, Captain America drops his iconic shield at the end of Civil War. It's a hugely symbolic move for Rogers, who's essentially shedding his superhero persona because he doesn't believe the Avengers or the US government are staying true to his ideals anymore.
Okay, again, did we watch the different movie? Because I did not see this. At the end of Civil War, yes, Captain America does drop his shield, but it's not because that he gives up on his country, not because he doesn't believe in America anymore, not because he's unpatriotic anymore. Captain America is still patriotic. He still loves his country. In my opinion, he dropped the shield simply because of the fight he had with Tony. Giving Tony back the shield that his father created as gesture of good faith. Even though we fought and we disagree, that I'm still a civil and I'm being civil with you, and I'm doing this to show you that I can compromise. And later in the film, he even gives Tony a cell phone saying to call me whenever you might need me, showing, though he disagrees extremely with Tony's views, that he still is friends with Tony and he still believes in the ideals of the Avengers as well as America as a whole.
That's also reflected in the comics. In the issues that were published soon after 9/11, Captain America was one of the first superheroes to go to Afghanistan. But in the course of this fight, he's still questioning U.S. government policy, like dropping bombs indiscriminately in the Middle East and Asia.
Again, dropping bombs indiscriminately in the Middle East and Asia. Who does she think she's talking about here? Again, that is Obama. Obama and his drone strikes, dropping bombs in the Middle East and Asia.
And he struggles with placing the sins of terrorists on the shoulders of an entire country or people.
They say that Republicans blame entire peoples or countries for terrorism, and this is simply not true. Republicans blame terrorism on ideas and ideologies.
Cap represents so many values over so many generations. The greatest generation that fought to liberate the world from fascism.
This word fascism is used to tie fascism with Republicans or conservatives. And again, this is not true. As I have told you earlier, Nazis, these are the fascists that Captain America fought, were socialists. They were liberals.
The post-war generation that quickly learned even democratic governments have their flaws, but it's possible to still push for progress.
We are a republic. When we vote for president, there's the electoral college, so that's not really a democracy. Progress is subjective. Some things that are done that some people consider progress, some people think it's a good thing and some people don't.
The post-9/11 generation that saw a massive increase in surveillance and arms in the name of security.
And again, the Democrats increased surveillance and changed our arms. Obama reduced the regulations needed for surveillance, and he increased our drone program.
And today, understanding that in an increasingly interconnected and technologically advanced world, it's important to prioritize individual freedom over government omniscience.
Again, the Democrats are pushing for more regulation on the internet. Since the Democrats lost the election, they're blaming news and information and ads that we're seeing on the internet. They're trying to control that. So you only see the news and information and ads that they want you to see.
For a man out of his time, his politics and his ideals are timeless.
I agree. Captain America's politics and his ideals are timeless. And again, his ideals and politics are Republican. They want you to believe that his ideals are liberal, but they are not even close. This was Alpha Eagle and I Gotta Fly. So subscribe, share, like, comment, and God bless America.